ASAP, you a little nervous about the trial?
My stomach, like towards like my headish a little.
A$AP Rocky's trial has officially begun, and the drama is already through the roof. Rihanna has been spotted looking downcast, and for good reason. Her partner, the father of her children, could be facing more than 20 years behind bars. And if that wasn't shocking enough, the courtroom itself has turned into pure chaos. From the judge making questionable comments to Rocky's mother, to witnesses dropping unexpected revelations, and Rocky's legal team pulling off some surprising strategies, this case is anything but ordinary. Now, here's the twist. Prosecutors offered Rocky a deal. He could have pleaded guilty to just one count of felony assault, gotten a suspended sentence, taken anger management classes, and done some community service. But he rejected it. And that decision has people completely divided. Some think he made a huge mistake by turning down what they call a sweetheart deal. Others believe it never should have been on the table because they insist Rocky isn't guilty. And then there are those comparing this situation to Tory Lanez's case, warning that if Tory got 10 years, things aren't looking good for Rocky. So is the deck really stacked against him? And where does Rihanna fit into all this? Let's get into it. For anyone who hasn't been keeping up, A$AP Rocky is on trial for allegedly pulling a weapon on a former friend, A$AP Relly, who's actually part of Rocky's own A$AP crew. At first glance, this case should be simple. Either Rocky did it or he didn't. End of story, right? But this trial has more twists than a soap opera. And the internet is buzzing with debates over whether there should even be a case at all.
The judge thinks your mom is gorgeous.
Here's how it all started. A$AP Rocky and A$AP Relly reportedly got into a heated argument after Relly accused Rocky of not paying for the funeral of a fellow crew member who had passed away. To understand the full picture, you have to go back to before Rocky became the global star he is today. He was already a member of the A$AP Mob, which is where the A$AP in his name comes from. The A$AP Mob was formed in 2006 in Harlem, New York, a collective of rappers, producers, music video directors, and fashion designers, all identifying themselves with the A$AP prefix. That's why you have names like A$AP Rocky, A$AP Ferg, A$AP 12e, and A$AP Relly. Since Rocky became the most famous, and likely the wealthiest member of the group, many expected him to take care of certain responsibilities. So, when one of their crew members passed away in 2021, it was assumed Rocky would step up and cover some or all of the funeral expenses. But Relly was convinced that Rocky had abandoned the group and didn't pay his share. This led to a confrontation that quickly escalated. The argument went down just a block from the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and at some point, Rocky allegedly pulled out a weapon and aimed it at Relly. According to Relly, things didn't stop there. He claims Rocky pulled out the weapon again and actually fired, with one of the bullets grazing his knuckles. Relly says he eventually got medical attention, but not until he flew back to LA. And here's where things get sketchy. Reports say Relly didn't go to the police until days after the alleged incident, and that's raising a lot of eyebrows. If someone gets hit by gunfire, you'd expect them to go straight to the hospital and report it immediately, right? But waiting days to do both? That's suspicious. And Rocky's team is using this as key evidence to argue that the accusations don't add up. The biggest issue? There's no clear-cut footage proving what actually happened. The best video evidence available is grainy and doesn't capture the full altercation. So this case is almost entirely relying on witness testimony, and so far, the prosecution's star witness, A$AP Relly, isn't exactly convincing people that Rocky is guilty. In fact, many of Rocky's fans are convinced that Relly isn't just a bitter ex-friend, but a straight-up snitch. They're calling him out for taking what should have been an internal A$AP Mob issue and running straight to the authorities instead of handling it privately. And Rocky's defense team is leaning into that narrative. During opening statements, Rocky's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, didn't hold back. He declared, "This case is about one man's jealousy, his lies, and his greed. This is all about money, a clear attempt at extortion, period, end of story." And yet, that's not even close to being the messiest part of this trial. As we mentioned, the trial officially kicked off on Friday, January 24th, and within days, the jury selection alone sparked major backlash online. Why? The jury consists of 7 women and 5 men, but not a single black juror. Fans have serious questions about this jury selection. After all, both the accused and the alleged victim are black, and the trial is happening in Los Angeles. So how is it possible that not a single black person made it onto the jury? In a city this diverse, with a case getting this much attention, the odds of that happening naturally seem slim. Even Reverend Al Sharpton weighed in, voicing his concerns about whether Rocky would receive a fair trial. He stated, "I have been closely in touch with ASAP Rocky's friends, and though I do not know the particulars of the trial, I do know he deserves to be judged fairly by his peers, as is his constitutional right. It is absolutely ridiculous that the jury will be not fair and representative so as to deprive ASAP Rocky of a fair trial." He also pointed out a shocking statistic. Out of 106 potential jurors, only 4 were black, and none of them even made it into the first 30 candidates. With numbers like that, many are wondering if something is seriously off with the system. But the controversy doesn't stop there. The police investigation itself is raising even more red flags. When Relly finally went to the cops, they launched an investigation at the alleged crime scene. And guess what? They found no evidence that a shooting even happened there. No shell casings, no physical proof, nothing. But then things took a bizarre turn. After law enforcement had already combed the area, Relly himself returned to the scene, and wouldn't you know it, he suddenly discovered shell casings and handed them over as evidence. So trained investigators found nothing. But somehow, Relly magically uncovered proof after the fact? Yeah, that's not suspicious at all. With all these inconsistencies, fans are questioning how any jury could take this case seriously. But what really stunned everyone was Rocky's decision to reject the plea deal prosecutors offered him. Right now, he's facing 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, a serious charge that could change his life forever. If convicted, Rocky could be looking at up to 24 years behind bars. So when prosecutors offered him a plea deal, many assumed he'd jump at the chance. The offer? Plead guilty to 1 count of felony assault in exchange for a 6-month jail term, a 7-year suspended sentence, 3 years of probation, 500 hours of community service, and mandatory anger management classes. At first glance, this deal seems like a no-brainer. Compared to 24 years in prison, it's a much lighter sentence. Plus, as long as Rocky followed the terms of his probation and stayed out of trouble, he wouldn't actually have to serve any jail time. But not everyone agrees that he should have taken it. Some fans believe Rocky made the right call by rejecting the deal. First off, if he's innocent, he has every right to fight for his freedom in court. But beyond that, taking the plea could end his career. A source close to Rocky told TMZ this would effectively end his career. He'd lose all his endorsement deals, including Gucci, Puma, and the Met Gala. And most importantly, he wouldn't be able to tour. His career would be over. And the consequences wouldn't stop there. The plea deal wouldn't just disappear after a few years. It would leave a felony conviction on his record. Even if it's better than 24 years in prison, signing that deal would put Rocky under legal restrictions for over 8 years. So from his perspective, if there's even a chance he could walk away completely free, why not take that shot? And judging by how this trial is unfolding, the odds might actually be in his favor. But if you thought this case was already messy, buckle up, because here comes the biggest plot twist yet. Rocky's defense team just made a shocking claim. They're saying there wasn't even a real firearm involved, that the whole thing was staged with a prop gun. Rocky's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, dropped a surprising revelation in court. Yes, Rocky did fire something, but it wasn't what the prosecution claims. According to Tacopina, Rocky used a starter gun, a type of firearm that only produces loud noises but doesn't shoot real bullets. He claimed Rocky bought it for protection after dealing with a stalker and a previous attack. Tacopina explained that on the night of the incident, Rocky fired the starter gun twice, not to hurt anyone, but to scare off Relly and protect his friend Ills, who was also present during the altercation. But prosecutors weren't buying it. They shot back with their own claim, insisting that Rocky used a 9mm semi-automatic pistol to fire real bullets at Relly. To back up their argument, prosecutors played a 911 call from a woman who claimed she witnessed the shooting. They also presented a photo of what they believe was the weapon Rocky used. But here's where things get sketchy. After Rocky's arrest, police raided his house and found multiple firearms. The problem? None of them matched the alleged weapon. Every gun found in his home was legally registered, and the supposed 9mm semi-auto was nowhere to be found. So where did this weapon come from? The prosecution insists Rocky had it, and they pulled out their biggest weapon yet, a ballistics report that they claim proves Rocky fired a gun at Relly. This bombshell completely blindsided Rocky's legal team, and Tacopina immediately objected, arguing that the prosecution had sprung this evidence on them with no warning. He insisted the trial couldn't continue until they had time to analyze the report, but the judge wasn't having it. In another shocking twist, the court ruled that Rocky's team only had 1 day to bring in their own ballistics expert to review the case. The court even offered to cover the cost. But one thing was clear, the judge was not letting this slow the trial down. Now, fans are starting to question whether Rocky should have taken that plea deal after all. Many are comparing his situation to Tory Lanez's case, pointing out the similarities. And since Tory got 10 years, people are worried Rocky could face the same fate, or worse. For those who don't remember, Tory was convicted in December 2022 of 3 felonies. Assault with a semi-automatic firearm, possession of a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle, discharging a firearm with gross negligence. With the way things are unfolding, some fear Rocky could be looking at a similar sentence, or even longer. This all stemmed from the infamous case where Tory Lanez allegedly shot rapper Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. At first, things seemed to be going in Tory's favor. He and his team launched a smear campaign against Megan, trying to paint her as a liar, while Tory played the God-fearing devoted father role. But that strategy completely backfired. Badly. In the end, the jury wasn't buying it, and Tory was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Now, Rocky's situation is very different for several reasons. First, Tory's alleged victim was a famous female rapper. Rocky, on the other hand, is accused of shooting someone far less known, a former friend from his own crew. Second, the evidence against Tory was overwhelming. The media turned against him after his attempts to discredit Megan became painfully obvious. With Rocky, the evidence isn't nearly as strong. His case is filled with gaps, inconsistencies, and missing pieces. Plus, Rocky has a completely different public image. He's not some controversial rapper constantly in legal trouble. He's a fashion icon, a father, and the husband of a billionaire superstar. Yes, he's had a few legal run-ins in the past, but his PR team has worked overtime to keep his name clean. Unlike Tory, Rocky isn't widely associated with violence, gangs, or drama. In fact, the media loves him. Even the judge in his case seems to be a fan. Sure, the judge tried to act impartial, saying Rocky wouldn't get any special treatment. But then, in a wild courtroom moment, the judge was caught openly flirting with Rocky's mom, on the record. If that's not a sign of how differently this case is being handled, then what is? As for Rihanna, sources say this trial has been incredibly difficult for her, even though she and Rocky have been putting on a brave face. From the very beginning, this case has been a huge source of stress for her. Back in 2022, when she was heavily pregnant, Rihanna had a terrifying experience when she and Rocky were ambushed at the airport by LA police. The couple had just returned from a vacation in Barbados when Rocky was arrested on the spot in connection to this case. The entire situation was extremely stressful for Rihanna, and according to insiders, it left a lasting impact. Sources close to the couple reveal that Rihanna suffered from anxiety attacks after the arrest. There were even concerns that the stress could trigger early labor. Thankfully, she pulled through without any complications. But now, she's back in the thick of it, balancing her career, motherhood, and this trial. And to make matters even more intense, the judge has allowed cameras in the courtroom, meaning every second of this case will be broadcasted for the world to see. So, what do you think? Is Rocky being set up, or do you think he's guilty? Let's discuss it in the comments. And make sure to subscribe for more on the latest celebrity news and all the behind-the-scenes drama. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.